And of course, it's still Women's Month, all of August here in South Africa. And we continue to celebrate the women on whose shoulders we continue to stand. And just looking back at the phenomenal women that have built the country that we live in, that have paved the way for those of us who are sitting here today, being able to speak in our own voices without needing someone else to relay a voice for you. We take so much for granted, but people paid the ultimate price. They paid for these civil liberties in blood. And we should never take that for granted. 70 years since 20 women from across racial, social, and economic divides marched on the union buildings to make it clear to the regime of the day that they are not with that oppressive message. It is our duty to continue elevating that message. And I'm joined today by she don't need no introduction. And you see the switch there because now we're moving into a different gear. And someone that I really love and admire. And as we turn the camera, Anele, good morning.
Hey, Sakin.
And I did not say your surname because I wanted to know from you, which surname are we going by now?
Oh, we're going with Mgudlwa. Mgudlwa. No, no, no. I don't have enough space on forms for that. It's one way. I say to my dad, we've had him daughter for 41 years. I don't think it's an issue. My dad was like, please go.
As long as your dad's okay with it, it's...
You know what I'm saying? You know, and even my son as well, because with him, he has daughter. So I said, dude, what do you want to do? Are we all migrating to Mgudlwa? He's like, I'm not Mgudlwa. You are. I'm Mdoda. See you later, alligator. And I'm like, I get it is what it is.
Which is absolutely fabulous because today, you know, there's so much pressure. And looking at someone like yourself, Anele, who is so accomplished, well established in your name, but what's in a name?
Do you know what? For me, it's such a personal decision, on whether you keep your surname or you double barrel, whatever, that I really think no one else should have, an input onto it. Not even my husband. You know, not my husband, not my husband's family, not my family, not everyone. It's a personal decision, and I feel that there are other things for me. If I want to be fighting, and scream feminism and all of that, I can just do it in so many other ways. This one is small, doesn't belong to anyone else but me.
And I love that because, you know, we are celebrating Women's Month. Yeah. We are celebrating phenomenal women like yourself. And when we talk about feminism, especially in contemporary society, there are so many brands of feminism. And I often say, I don't subscribe to every brand of feminism out there.
And yet, you want every brand out there, right? Yes. The point of feminism itself is to tell women that you can do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want, for how long you want to be that person. And most importantly, the feminism I subscribe to is the one that says you can change your mind whenever you want. So guess what? If next week I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm a double barrel it. I'm going to Home Affairs. I'm paying my 80 rand. And those guys are quick. You know, they gave me my marriage certificate in 3 minutes flat. You know, yeah.
They're very quick.
No, they're quick with it. So, and that's the thing. Feminism is actually telling women you can be whoever you want to be on that day that you woke up, because really it is all about that.
And that's the beauty of it, because, we speak of the women who marched to the union buildings in 1956. And yet, there are certain struggles that remain. In fact, many of them remain. And you look at, for example, just having a voice, being able to express yourself. Yeah. And I often say, in as much as I don't want a man to speak for me, I also don't need other women to speak for me.
Oh, absolutely. Firstly, up until you spoke, I didn't realize that it was 70 years, and this is what we like to do. We should have made a bigger deal of the 70 years. But then again, much to your point, at 71 years, it's still a big deal. At 79 years, it's a big deal. At 102 years, it's a big deal. So we mustn't run around these accolades of celebrating certain things because, it is a big birthday. With feminism and with women issues and with women voices, it is an everyday thing. And I have always said this, that the biggest custodians of oppression of women, I have found, is women themselves.
There you go.
And that's the thing. Men don't have to stand guard and be these security guards for their oppression. They can just send us to do it because we are the ones that are hardest on each other. We are the ones that have got prescriptions for each other of what you should be, what you should look like, why you should look like that, how you should speak.
What you should wear.
What you should wear, what looks good on you, and you know what hair you're supposed to have, and you know what length of skirt you're supposed to wear. You will seldom. It always shocks me when I find a man commenting on a woman's appearance on social media. I'm always like, unemployed lo, like ayikho lento, akana nto kwenza lo, like ungufata lo, uhleli ungantweni ongenaxesha lo, because indoda anaxesha lo bicomment ngenwele zakho sis. Tu my angel, tu. And that's what I found is that we are our biggest enemy. We are the ones coming up trying to belittle is not the word for it, trying to minimize women. And also I just think it's an inherent fear that we have around if you are free, you actually making me look into a mirror to show me how caged I am. So the best thing is let's all be caged here and let's just all regulate each other here. As soon as you guys have somebody out of the cage, you just don't know what to do with them.
And you don't know how to fit them into the boxes that you have created.
For yourself. Now you want me to come and live in your mold of who I'm supposed to be.
You know, political analyst Koko Obri Machimbre, he always said, he referred to the Women's League of a certain political party as patriarchy in a dress.
Of course.
And,
I've heard that line before.
You know, and that is so powerful, speaks to your point about we as women being our own oppressors. And this is something that we need to look at. But I want to talk about you as well. Because the first time I heard you, I remember calling my friend and saying, I love her. Because, you know, you were really a breath of fresh air. I think it's easy to find women who are articulate, you know, who can present and, you know, MC and do all those things. But to hui comedy into the mix, I was like, she can make me laugh while doing that. That is special.
Yeah.
So where did it all start for you?
Just growing up in a household that encouraged mistakes. You know, that encouraged voice, you know, that encouraged humor and wit and banter and laughter. I really grew up in a household where everybody was talking. I remember my dad would be like, you guys don't even listen to each other. You're just waiting for a gap so that you can, as you see your sister slow down, you're like, okay, 3, 2, 1. And that was it. But back to my original point is that all of those things can be there. But if you grew up in a household where you're scared to make mistakes, you will be scared to try things on stage, right? Because you're right. For a very long time, the women we watched that were on stage and that were given the opportunities, it's almost like they were confined to, oh, you're pretty, you're going to deliver the lines, and then you're going to go home. I have been told a few times in my life, just sit there and look pretty, you know? Or just, you know, or just... yes. Oh, I remember one award show that I hosted, they made it very clear that this man is the lead and you are just here, you know, to feed off him. I remember he even had an entrance where he came in a chair that was swiveling around and I had to walk next to him, you know. And I remember saying to my manager, please don't ever make me do shows like that again, because, you know, from word go, you can see that you have been told that you are number 2 here. But on the same coin, just on the other side, I mean, I have been in situations where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm being made the sidekick, it's fine. But I decided to take the victim mentality out of it. And I'm like, okay, so if you are going to box me already and put me here, that means that I've got free reign to grow in whatever form I want around and build myself a profile that by the time you guys look again, I'm a beast of a personality and you were nowhere near, you know, the building, you know, and the fighting mentality of this personality. And in one of the instances in my career, that's exactly what happened, where they would just speak to my co-host. If it was a technical question, they'd speak to my co-host. If it was a planning around campaigns, they'd speak to my co-host. There would be emails flying to him, never to me, and kind of like, oh, you'll tell Anele, right? Oh, you'll tell Anele. I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? Victim mentality out of here. Whilst they were keeping him busy with the admin, I was busy building a profile.
Because we don't like admin anyway.
Chap, Microsoft Word.
Yeah, run with that. That's okay. Dude. So, and you've really flown with it.
Yeah.
In a literal sense, you know, and I think that's such an important lesson, because it's very easy to be down on yourself and, basically stand in your victimhood and woe is me. And then you don't get around and you blame the whole world because things are not going your way. But people will say, but yeah, you Anele. So obviously, you could have doors open for you. You would know where to go. You have friends. You're friends with Trevor Noah,
Why hasn't Trevor gotten you a job in America?
All those things, and people would want to almost set you apart from the struggle that we all go through.
No, you absolutely can't do that. The most powerful women in the world are undermined. And you undermined as to how you got there. You undermined as to how long you should stay there. And it's always want to be a label. Well, she is the first person to do this whilst being a size 38, wearing a size... You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always some sort of description that they want us to fight for. I am the first black woman to host breakfast. And you're just like, babe, if that's what your fight is, you are distracted. You are so distracted. I find sexism to be a distraction. I find racism to be a distraction. Because whilst I'm busy fighting that you are upset with me because of the color of my skin, my counterpart can flourish. And that's what happens in schools. You find our kids fighting racism. The other kids don't have to. They're going to school and they're learning maths, right? So even with my son, when something arises at school, I ask him, how much of a distraction do you want this thing to be? Because yes, I want you to stand up for yourself. Yes, I want you to feel everything that's happening. But honestly, my love, you're writing English tomorrow. So I just don't want this thing to be a distraction. Even when Pretoria Girls High had that hair issue, with Zuleika, about a few 10 years ago, if I'm allowed to, make mistakes on my dates here. All that thing was a distraction for black girls. Because whilst they have to toy in the parking lot, what's everyone else doing? Class.
But people would say, Anele, you're viewing this through a typical middle-class prism. Totally. Whereas those issues are very real. And that would be someone's lived reality that does get them bogged down. How do you respond to that? Because someone would say, you see, this is what happens when, black people make it. And then they forget about the struggles that other black people have to confront on a daily basis.
I say to them that I'm having the debates and the fights on where I am. And all of us, sadly, you must fight on the level where you are, right? Now, this is not to say that the middle class, because once again, we've said, we always joke with my colleagues, we're like, if there is a protest, the middle class is not going to go there because they don't want anything that inconveniences them. But guys, you have to meet people where they are. Everybody has got their own inconvenience. Just because somebody else's inconvenience looks a little bit loftier to yours, there is still an inconvenience for them. And I can't come and want to determine on a private jet, guys, they've got an inconvenience of the fact that they have to stand in a line to get fuel, to fuel their private jet. I can't be mad at them about that being an inconvenience for them. What I can say is you need to allow people to show up the way that they want to show up. This thing of forcing people to be activists when they're not is exactly what gets them into trouble because they start saying things that are not even part of their own realm and their own reality. It's like beauty queens. Now you want beauty queens to come and start, yeah, but what did she say about this? Guys, let them find their own purpose of what they want to talk about. That's when you find people who strive like Uzozi because she's talking to things that mean a lot to her, not wanting to be something that she is not. That's when you find Ushudu, who is talking about things. Mental illness has been a thing for Ushudu even before we knew about her. Look how she's flying around it now. And it's a big thing. And here's the thing. Now, if we're going to speak on the classism, right, and but now this is middle class problems. For a very long time, mental illness was a thing for, it's for rich people. No, it's just that we don't know how to interpret what it looks like when it is being experienced by all classes. Because now you're just like, no, they have a mental illness. You need to focus on it, and you need to highlight on it on every single
That's a
level.
conversation I want us to have on a separate occasion.
Do you see what I'm saying?
It's such a big thing.
So easy to throw statements. Hi, ligeza lo uyaziragela. We grew up with abantu being called amageza. No, guys, they were on the spectrum. They were living with autism, but you were so quick to just to write them off because these are higher class diseases. No, guys, it affects everyone on every level. It's not a money thing. So when you want to tell people that no, that's a middle class problem to have, you have to meet people at where their problems are. You cannot shame me into wanting to pick up arms and fight for a specific cause. You have to meet me at where I am.
They said this interview must be how long? I suspect we're getting into trouble. But, we haven't even spoken about your purpose. You mentioned the word and I immediately picked up on it because what would you say is your purpose, Anele? I mean, you've branched out into business in a big way. And, we're sitting in these studios right now and, whoa, your name is on the title here. So, what would you say is your purpose?
Content, entertainment, because it doesn't matter what is happening, we have to stop to laugh. I remember interviewing Umam Abigail Kubega, and she was telling me about, the days of Sophia Town where they were performing in the clubs, in the jazz clubs, and she was like, and then we'd be told that day that, Walter Sisulu are coming, no Mandela, that day because, the leaders are coming. And I stopped her and I was like, hang on, this was apartheid. She was like, here's the thing you must remember about apartheid, as heinous and as terrible as it was, and as something that actually has been diluted about how bad it was. You didn't wake up every morning to be like, okay, let me go attend apartheid. We didn't wear uniform, apartheid. She's like, we had to find ways. We had to find ways where we still remember we are people that need to be loved, that need to be cherished, that need to be entertained, that need to laugh, right? And hence, those were the heydays of music. And dare I say it, the only time we're seeing the same heyday of Bo Abigail, no Mere Makeba, is now. With ABBA or Kabza or Tyler or Maporisa and all of that. Because that was the last time Bo Huma Sekela, Bo Kaifa Semenya, where our sound went international properly. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's it. My purpose is, regardless of how hard times are, I'm going to give you a relief from that. I'm the pellet cleanser. I'm the sobe where you have between meals. That's my purpose. And in that, girl, I'm the sobe. I'm the lime sobe. And in that is employment. I really want to employ as many people as I can for the rest of my life. And I like for people to work with me more than say they work for me. And sometimes, even people will be like, hey, you heavy man with stuff, even for personally now, And I'm just like, well, I feel it's economical. You don't think it is because you feel like I'm spending money. But I find it to be economical that many people around me are getting paid. And as soon as I'm paying someone, that's 8 lives that have changed, right? And those 8 lives can change another 8 lives and so on and so forth. So I really, when people are like, oh, why did you buy Rapid Blue? And I said, because they came with a staff complement of 31 people. And I have ideas and I have dreams. And they bottleneck because I'm one person. And then I may have a team of 3 or 4. But if I have 31 people all working towards these things, these ideas that are in my head, then we grow this. And we grow this empire and they grow themselves. And then it gets bigger and we employ. That's the only way I see the economy, making a turnaround is if each of us decide that we are going to make sure 4 people are paid.
And to own a production company is no mean feat, because it's a difficult business. It is. So what were you thinking?
You see, I'm laughing so I don't cry. I've owned a production company, Rose and Oaks, for 9 years, but we were a small shop.
Does that still exist?
Yes, that exists. In fact, Rose and Oaks owns Rapid Blue. Right. So it still exists, and it was 3 of us, and we were very project based. So we'd get a project like The Masked Singer, or Ready Steady Cook, or the movies that we've done, or the series that we've done, and we get that, and then we hire people. So you freelance and all of that, right? Now with Rapid Blue, you come in with a staff complement where you have staff, and so we're constantly working. So when I leave radio, much like you leave TV, I leave radio, you go to radio, I go to TV. Like you and I do a SABCs. And then I'm here until 5 p.m. because it's a 9 to 5, right? Because you have people who are working here. And the key now is to have as many shows as possible so we can employ as many people. And so those 31 people then are working towards project based, right? So then if 10 of my EPs have got a show each, then it means that they're employing 300 people for each show. The camera guys, the lighting, the people who build the set and all of that. So yes, it's daunting to have a production company, but I think I've done the little steps and the little gymming, the muscle building, and the institutional knowledge. I've built enough of it to know how we should do this, but with the correct team, because my business partners are amazing.
They have to be, and you have to like them.
Yeah, yes.
And I like
Frankie. Yes. We like Frankie. We love Frankie, but you need to meet Paul. Quirky.
Okay.
Quirky, a little quiet, but quirky. But they really are those ones, because we all excel at different things.
Yeah, know thyself.
Yeah. Paul is great with budgets, great with the business affairs of things, looking at something, know exactly how much it's going to cost. I'm great with coming up with the concepts. Frank is operations. He's the showrunner. He's the one who knows exactly what cameras must be where, which lights must be where.
That's a perfect team.
Do you know what I'm saying?
That's a perfect team.
Girl.
What more do you want? Listen, we're out of time.
No!
We haven't even spoken about, Anele, the mother, Anele, the wife, and all I know is Alake is supporting the wrong team, man. That's all
Man City or Kaizer Chiefs?
Man City.
Okay.
Kaizer Chiefs is right.
Okay. And babe, his wallpaper's Man City. So he has to go to that room every night. I'm Jongepa Kevin De Bruyne, who's not even on the team anymore.
Nostalgia. But how, being a mother, and having to do all of this, because often people look at what we do and they think, she only works 3 hours a day. She only does that. People have no idea most of the time of just how intense it is.
I always say not everything is going to happen every day. Some days I'm going to be a brilliant mother. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be doing the homework. I'll be the one cooking. I love cooking. It's actually my stress reliever. And people are actually shocked at how much I cook. Maybe I cook 5 times a week. Like
Look at you.
Yeah,
why are you like that? You just want to excel and make the rest of us look bad over here.
Girl, I make bread. But it's not going to be perfect every single day. And I'm not going to be a great mom to our 3 children every single day. We've got Nutu, we've got Latita, we've got Alake. And my husband's very good at being the primary parent and making sure that, okay, things are like this. But we're also very good at leading each other, because then he goes off to do his stuff. And there's a great balance. But I have a strong team, and they're the reason that I can show up. But like I say, there are days when I'm not going to show up. And luckily, what I'm not doing is crucifying myself for not showing up. And I'm not listening to anybody else, try to crucify me.
And that's the key, really. Yeah. You need to know when to shut out the voices. Yeah. And be confident in who you are and your decisions, and
because
preaching
can I
to
tell
the
you something, Sakina? And it will speak to a bit of what you and I were speaking about before the cameras rolled. And we're speaking about a close friend of ours who's recently lost her child. And I asked you, how is she doing? And you were like, it's still going to get worse before it gets better. Because the truth of the matter is, if you want to listen to other people on how you should be a wife, if you want to listen to other people on how you should parent, if you want to listen to other people on how you should do your job, when you lose any of these things, you are the only one who's lost it.
And you're alone.
No one else. If you lose your child, you are the only one who's lost your child. Yet it was a parliament of people wanting to tell you how to be a mother, because you have that thing then, right? And then when you lose it, you're the only one who's lost it. When you want to listen to people tell you how to do morning live every single morning, when you lose it, you're the only one who's lost it, not them. They're going to move on to the next thing. When you lose your spouse, when you're being told what type of wife you must be, no, you must talk to your husband like this. When now me and my husband are no longer together, I am the only one who's lost him. So this is why the only person you must listen to in how to do things is yourself, because in the event you lose that thing, you're the only one who mourns it.
Because if you don't, effectively what you're saying is you don't trust yourself. So, Anele, we could, I think this is too short. I don't know what we're going to do. But
Call me onto that radio show of yours.
we're going to have more time. You know, there's so many other facets of your life, but I think this has been fabulous, you know, and giving us an opportunity to have an insight, because, you know, we're all voyeurs at heart. So just an insight into your life and what makes you tick. And thanks for being the inspiration that you are.
Thank you for coming through. I'm so glad we made this happen, because you and I are on TV and radio at the same time. We can never do this. So well done to Morning Live team for making it happen.
Well, thank you so much. Lunga and the rest of the team will take the credit for that. I showed up and I'm so glad I did. And of course, we continue to celebrate phenomenal women here on Morning Live, and this will happen throughout August. We still have just over a week to go, so more fabulous women coming up.